What if Penny Hardaway isn't traded on draft night for Chris Webber?
Well, so Chris Webber goes number one overall to the Orlando Magic. Now, keep in mind the previous year, the Orlando Magic had the first pick. They took Shaq from LSU.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Lightning strikes in a bottle. They catch lightning in a bottle. They get a first pick the very next season, and they select Chris Webber. And from what I understand, Shaquille O'Neal was urging management to select Penny Hardaway because they got to play together on the set of Blue Chips. So he's telling them, I want y'all to draft Penny, but they draft Chris Webber. And he said he tore up his front room when he saw that they drafted Chris Webber. But if they would have kept Chris Webber's draft rights, you would have seen like domination in the paint area. You know, you would have had Shaquille O'Neal, you would have had Chris Webber. That's 7'1" and 6'10". You would have had Nick Anderson. You would have had Dennis Scott, a sharp shooting three-point shooter, uh, and some other players. So I don't know if they would have signed Horace Grant had they drafted and kept Chris Webber. But oh man, his name slips my mind. The guy who had 30 assists.
Scott Skiles.
You got Scott Skiles at point guard.
Yes, sir.
So you would have seen domination in the paint, rebounds, block shots. How many dunks they would have had every single game?
Man.
They probably would have had. They would have averaged like 7 dunks a piece had that trade not taken place. But it would have been exciting to see. But ultimately, I think it would have been one of those situations where it's too many cooks in the kitchen, too many chefs in the kitchen.
Yes, indeed.
Right? Because I mean, you talking about Diesel and you talking about C-Dub. I just think the pain isn't big enough for both of them. Yeah. So I think ultimately, while that would have been exciting to see, the Magic made the right decision in trading for the point guard, the 6'7" point guard from Memphis State at the time, Penny Hardaway. But Chris Webber and Shaquille O'Neal, I have no doubt in my mind, would have been dominant. Long term, I don't know if that works because you got two bigs who demand the ball down low, and Chris Webber can handle the ball a little bit. But, man, that would have been fireworks and exciting to see.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, for me, it's the same thing because you got Shaq, you got C-Webb, two bigs that were very, very ball dominant, but they were doing what they did best, dominating that block, dominating the paint, and drawing the double team, night in and night out. I think, when it comes to that what if factor, man, Penny, and you really think about that because it would have been times where you got C-Webb and Shaq versus the bigs in the East, the possibility of that, matchup. I think at that time, Tim Duncan and David Robinson, earlier in their career. You going against Hakeem Olajuwon and those guys earlier in their career, with that help elevated Shaq and those Magic not being swept, in that early career where they have been able to propel in the East with the guard. Like how many assists would Scott Skiles have had with Webber, Shaq, Nick Anderson, like you said, Scott, Royal, the team that they just had a team that continued to will through that East. And we seen and knew what the East had at that time. You really had to play your best basketball during the playoffs, be stout, get through that physical season in the East at that time and just ball out. So that was an era to where it's so many what ifs in that era. One that I wasn't able to get on just to keep it on this subject of the what if. I had came across someone, and the one thing that come to the forefront is what if Grant Hill's injury? What if Penny Hardaway, as we just spoke on Penny Hardaway, and what if Tracy McGrady? I'm gonna put all three. I'm not categorizing. I'm not comparing. It's just I think when you talk about the comparisons that they receive, you're talking about a Grant Hill who received MJ comparisons, talking about a Tracy McGrady who received, Kobe Bryant comparisons, and we're talking about another counterpart, as well, and the greatness not to forget about Brandon Roy. I mean, it's so many when you think of this list: Penny, Hill, Roy, T-Mac. Just give me your thoughts on those what ifs post game, if you could.
Yeah, man, that is some of the biggest what ifs of all time. I mean, you talk about Grant Hill coming out of Duke, a 6'8" small forward. I still remember him crossing Scottie Pippen and taking it to the rack and dunking. That dude was athletic. He was intelligent. He was tall. He was strong. He would have been excellent. Tracy McGrady, the same thing. That dude was deadly. I mean, does anybody remember what he did to Houston in what seconds?
33, 13.
13 seconds? Or was it 13 points in so many seconds? But
yeah, 13 and 33.
Tracy McGrady was an unbelievable player. Brandon Roy, oh my goodness, that dude was smooth as butter. My goodness, Brandon Roy, I really hate that injury happened to him. He was such a great player. I mean, all these guys that we speak about with these devastating injuries, bro, they would have been all-time great players. I don't know if maybe if Grant Hill in Orlando with Tracy, maybe if they're able to stay together and still make it to Orlando with each other, maybe they get a ring. But I don't know, due to the all-time great players that was just dominating the game around that time.
Yes, sir. And another one, of course, I didn't mention because I know we would probably speak on this young man. Chi-Town, one of Chi-Town's finest, I think. Parlay Poe was in the chat. Shout out to Parlay Poe. Shout out to the whole chat for the guys for the questions as well, and the what ifs that they sent through. He had the question of what if Derrick Rose didn't get hurt. He said top 5 all time. What's your thoughts on this?
Top 5 all time, period, or top 5 point guard?
Point guard. I believe he was referring to point guard all time, possibly all time, but definitely point guard for sure. I know Parlay Poe.
Yeah, easily. If Derrick Rose is able to stay healthy, keep that athletic bounce that he had, there's no doubt in my mind he would be top 5. He would be challenging for whoever. I think he'll be challenging for top 3, because do we still talk about Steph Curry how we talk about Steph Curry? If that's a big if Derrick Rose is healthy.
Yeah.
Is Derrick Rose the one winning championships? I don't know. I mean, these what ifs are crazy, bro.
Crazy.
I definitely believe if Derrick Rose is able to stay healthy, he's definitely a top 5 point guard.
Yeah, and we appreciate you tuning in as well. We have Cajun Meatball tuning in this evening. The first time I seen you, we definitely appreciate all those people that's new and tuning in this evening. One Take Zay, he said that would have affected KD's legacy as well. Speaking on Brandon Roy, I believe, and he said if Brandon Roy could have stayed healthy, he probably would have been better than Kobe. And when you hear One Take Zay, I'm leaving this here for a minute. When you hear One Take Zay, rest in peace to the GOAT next to Mike, to me, my opinion, one of my greats is Bean. That's One Take's all time. That's his GOAT. So that's a big what if when it comes to Brandon Roy and respectively. I remember watching battles in that West Portland, LA on a late night, like we said, I think earlier in the week or over the weekend about being up so late watching these games. Them 12:30 in high school, 1 in the morning, watching them games, trying to go work on some of those moves. I remember Brandon Roy getting 40 on Bean, but Bean bouncing back and going crazy for a whole month of 40. You know what I mean? So it's a lot that, when it comes to these players that I think when it comes to the injuries, the what ifs, man, crazy. He said top 5 ever as they are in the chat right now, as we are on stream. But yeah, man, I think D Rose for me, man, that's a great thing when you mention that who would be getting those championships. Would it have been D Rose? Would it have been Curry? Even the fact of having, KD Brown, because you got to think about this. When Derrick Rose this was before his prime, Post. He was really given the GOAT we know today, as many people say, my GOAT is MJ. But the GOAT today, many people say we seen Derrick Rose given, not just him, his team. Anyone else that stepped up to that Bulls team, he gave them buckets. But he was that player, that engine that went and, it was tough seeing that. So, for me, man, that's D Rose, McGrady, Grant Hill, Brandon Roy, Tracy McGrady. I think they could have altered so many legacies in basketball. They have left a legacy of their own.